Hello and welcome to Tonalist Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and welcome as well to day 8 of 25 Days of Tonalism Volume 2. The artist that I've done a study after today, his name is Granvill Redmond, and the name of his painting was Golden Hour. Now, I'm not sure if his original was actually in a square format or not. There have been some cases in this series where I have forced things into squares that were maybe kind of squattish rectangles. So this is just to kind of keep things varied. This painting was interesting. I think it went very quickly. We are quite sped up here on this, actually not very sped up, I mean to say. This is only about five times faster than I painted it, but there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of detail. It's mostly just fields of color, which is something I admire when artists do that. I do that once in a while myself, but I'd love to be more comfortable with doing it more anyway. Granvill Redmond I have covered in the past. He was basically deaf. He was a painter in California and considered to be a California tonalist, and there was a school of tonalism out there. People like Arthur Matthews were considered to be a part of that, and whether they actually called it tonalism at the time, I'm not actually aware, but there was tonalism going on there, and it was a different movement. Most tonalism, of course, coming out of New York and Boston in the late 1800s and early part of the 20th century, until basically kind of being shunted aside. And to be fair, I mean, tonalism in many ways is a response to all of the different revolutions that were going on in the world, the Civil War, the Industrial Revolution, and the loss of much of the rural life that people had, and a yearning to get back to those rural roots. And so it had its time, but I think by the time you're getting post World War I, people have pretty well settled into the industrial age, and other schools of landscape painting became popular, but never as popular to the same degree as tonalism had, because there was a lot of things that came in to supplant painting altogether. For one, the ready availability of cheap color reproductions is something that's changed painting back then, and still affects painters today. And I've talked about reproductions before, and you might say, well, what is that pertinent for? I was just reading an article before while I was having my lunch, and some artists have created a vending machine. It's in a club in Brighton, England, and it says, art buyers can buy art from from a vending machine. And then you read down in the article a little bit, and it's prints. They're selling prints of their art, and good on them. But wouldn't it be so much better if they were just doing affordable originals? This is one of the reasons why, for example, the painting you're looking at now is a 5x5. I'll sell that for $100. That is quite affordable, and that's an original, one of a kind art object. And I really think. I may be ahead of the curve here, but there needs to come a reappraisal of what humans are engaged with. For example, all these corporations, they can do something bigger and faster, and so what they'll do is they'll hire people from a foreign country, and those people will be eventually replaced by some robot or something. Meanwhile, all the human beings that were involved in the equation are left there just standing there with nothing to do. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning about visual arts education, and some young person he knew was engaged in this, and he was telling them, well, they don't expect to have a decent job. And unfortunately, this is very true, because while there are jobs in the visual arts, 90% of what artists used to do can be done by the computer now, or with computer-assisted tools like Photoshop. For example, I mean, I worked in the digital realm for many years, and there were times where I'd have to remove an object from a photo, and to do a good convincing job would take me many hours. Now, they have a tool now called the Content Aware Fill tool that does it in not even a minute, it's seconds. So something that used to take me maybe up to half a day of gainful employment, making a good wage to do, can now be done in a second by anybody. So these sorts of things have a big influence on humanity, and they affect. The reason I'm getting into this on this podcast or video cast, it's basically about painting, is that after so many years involved in the digital realm, I could really see where things were going. I ceased to be enamored with creating art with digital media, and started concentrating on teaching myself how to paint with oils on wood panels. And I do still feel I'm ahead of the curve. I think there's still a lot of people enamored with this technology that can create visually stunning stuff, and that's amazing and it's awesome. And in fact, I have many tools I use that assist my painting process that are valuable tools, but they will not create an original oil painting that has been done by hand by a human being, and that is intrinsically valuable. And even if the world may not be aware of it now, there's going to come a time where things like this become more and more valuable as human beings a little further behind the curve start to realize what's been lost, start to have a sense of value for it. And I think there is a movement among some young people to learn actual art skills with pencil and charcoal and paint, and create actual objects. And getting back to where I started with this, as far as reproductions, it's like I do sell reproductions of my work. I sell them very cheaply to tourists, and these people aren't going to buy. They don't even have $100 in some cases. Sometimes these are people with backpacks. They're the young people traveling, and all sorts of people that have kids and stuff. They don't necessarily have $100 to spend on a painting. So while I have that affordable level of art available to people, I also have these very reasonable prints, which just gives them a piece of me, something that they can have. It's a nice little signed print, but I could posit these things as being more valuable than they are. I could make them signed and numbered, and all that stuff is so arbitrary, it's laughable now. And it's not a real investment. It's not anything other than a reproduction. And it used to be in the old days that when reproductions were very expensive to produce and create, that you could get away with this signed and numbered reproduction thing. And I guess I'm about 7 years away from what's happening in the art world of California, but after I'd started painting, I started going to galleries and stuff there, and I would see these, canvas prints stretched on a wide stretcher bar, and these galleries were asking the sort of prices that you would expect to pay for an original for these prints, and I was like, I just didn't like it. I don't trust it. I don't like it. I mean, if you want to buy it and beautify your home with it, great, but don't think you have an actual item that's as an investment worth anything at all. And I know I've talked about this on the video series before, so you'll forgive me if maybe you've heard my views on this before, but it bears repeating because this is important, and I know some artists coming up listen to this, and I am right about this. The reproduction market is a waste of time, and canvas, printing your stuff on canvas and selling it is a waste of time. What you want to do is concentrate on creating something valuable and beautiful that's a real actual object. This is where the world's headed, and at least there that it is one of a kind, and that's intrinsically valuable, especially if what you do is beautiful. It doesn't really matter if it has value in the marketplace where you live at the moment. It will over time if it's good, and you need to have faith in that. And you've got a firm foundation to stand on, because you know what you are selling and presenting to the world is one of a kind, is unique. And you may need to sometimes sell things for less, or find ways to do like I do, where I do small studies to do things that are original and affordable. Imagine how cool this vending machine idea would have been if people are putting 25 to 50 pounds into this vending machine. If they're getting an actual piece of art, that would be pretty cool. I mean, 50 pounds is actually not that far off from what I'd be selling a little 5x5 inch painting like this for. So, in New Zealand dollars anyway. No, this painting went quick, and it is small. I can't sell my larger work for anything like that, and possibly even conceive of being able to do that, but it wouldn't be like you'd be able to put a large painting in a vending machine anyway. So anyway, I can see we're getting close to the end. Thanks for joining me today. Sorry this was a bit rambly. I am having a busy day today. I'm getting ready for this museum show, so I will be putting this up later on tonight. And meanwhile, you can check out my website, landscapepainter.co.nz, subscribe, and you can follow my blog through the website. Also on the blog will be a nice higher resolution version of this image, and 2 detailed images as well. I'll be back tomorrow with one of my paintings, so meanwhile, I would really like it if you would take good care and stay out of trouble, and we'll see you tomorrow.